It's Tuesday Night Live. We are so excited to be here tonight. We're excited to have you all joining us. First couple minutes, we call it the warm-up time, right? We give you a couple minutes to dial in, to log on. We know it's a holiday season, and guys, does not go unnoticed for us. We could do a lot of stuff. You could be tonight shopping. You could be doing other things. But you're here with us, and we really, really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. And I did want to welcome a few of you: Brad, Burnett, Charles, Eugene, Frank, Freddie, Ken, Michael Lee, Mike, Shane, Shelly, Tony, Valori, Vitelli. Sorry, that's just to name a few. But as you're popping on tonight, as always, I do love to know exactly where you are so we can welcome you from your part of the world. We're actually in Cumming, Georgia, which is about, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes north of Atlanta, even though I think it's still considered Atlanta up here.
I always tell people I'm from Atlanta.
Do you?
No one's heard of the towns that we actually operate out of. But tonight, Julie and I are in our offices, right? We spent a couple hours here just talking about stuff, strategizing. We talked about the things we're going to be talking about you guys tonight. We got some really, really great stories and great information to share with you guys tonight that we think are going to resonate. But yeah, it's just Julie and I here tonight. We're in this huge building we got 2 conference rooms. We're in our big, large conference room. In front of us, I guess, is a bunch of boxes getting ready for things that we have coming up. So yeah, and actually Julie lives even further from here. She lives another, 45 miles or 45 minutes north of where we are. When we're done here tonight, I'm heading south about 45 minutes towards Atlanta, because that's what I call that's where I call home.
Yeah, we got Brad from Marietta, Mike from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. We got Charles from Charlotte, North Carolina, and Eugene. We know Eugene. Hey, Eugene. He's from Chicago. What is that, Chi-Town? I never say it right. I always think it's cool that I know that.
Chi-Town. That sounds like French.
No. It is. That's what they call it.
That's what they call it.
We got John from New Jersey.
Well, cool, guys. We are glad, again, that you all are here tonight. We're going to take another minute or two just to give you guys a chance to kind of dial in, grab something to write with, make yourself feel at home. We kind of, this is, we kind of don't have specific rules for these. We kind of just speak off our minds. We don't have scripts that we plan ahead of time. We kind of pick a topic with, and then we kind of go with it. We try to be as real as possible, kind of like a fireside chat is what we do. Along the way, we do hope you guys are getting ready, because the next couple of weeks, they're going to be busy, aren't they?
Yes.
Hectic. Holiday time, Christmas time, shopping time. So
it's so funny that you say that, because I was just doing that today. Is a lot of times people slow down this time of year. I think you talked about this last week on the webinar. I don't know, because it's slower, it almost makes me want to work harder.
No question.
Do you feel that way? It does. I do. I'm always like, I got to get more done. I got to get more done, because there's maybe less opportunity.
There's no question. There's no question. It's all in perspective. This is either a time you slow down or a time you take advantage of. But yeah, we ourselves, we got our Christmas party coming up in a couple days for our people we work with here, right?
That's going to be so much fun. Our Christmas party's on Saturday.
Saturday night, we're going to be doing we'll do some live videos from there, right? From our lake house. We're, at least once a year, we like to gather all the people that we work with here and kind of celebrate the whole year and get ready for the new one. And I'm sure a number of you guys have Christmas parties coming up, have company parties coming up. And again, we're just glad that you're with us here tonight. We're glad you've taken this time. We take this time very seriously from a perspective. And I kind of mention this all the time, but it's so true. This is the one thing we have done consistently for seems like forever and ever, huh?
Yeah, it's been a while. I remember our first one. I'd never done one webinar before. I'll never forget how nervous I am. But now, you know, what I realize is that it's like, to me, it's like talking to our friends, right? Or our future friends. Cause like even tonight, we're going to be sharing a couple stories that I would normally never tell, just because I want you to get a clear perspective of who we are, you know, where we came from. And there's a couple stories that are a little embarrassing for me, I would think, but in the end it worked out good. So, I mean, that's exactly why we're doing this tonight.
Yep, it's what made us. So we got like Julie just said, we got some great stories for you guys coming up. But there's going to be a reason we tell them to you guys. You'll see that, again, we try not to do these from a perspective of not adding any value. I think what we talk about with you guys tonight will add a tremendous amount of value. I think a number of you guys will see yourselves in our stories, and most importantly, we hope that they have quite an impact on you here when we're done. So we'll get started here very shortly. I know we still have probably people dialing in. We always have people dialing in throughout the hour. But again, we're glad you guys are here with us tonight. We'll try to get to any questions you may have. There's a way for you guys to ask us questions. So we'll hopefully not only provide tremendous amount of value, but answer whatever questions you might have about Julie and I. You know, we like to tell people we're an open book, and we really are. We try to make ourselves as, matter of fact, that's one of the things we were talking about today. We're like, well, this guy called me. Like, how do they even know our numbers? But we do. We make ourselves about as accessible as anybody out there. We don't hide from who we are. We don't lock up our numbers. We don't put ourselves behind some closed walls. You know, gosh, at this point, I think I got hundreds and hundreds of videos out there with my name, cell phone, face all over the internet. Yeah. Hard for me to escape what we do. But
yeah, could you imagine them calling your phone and it being disconnected?
Yeah, that would be like red fire alert would immediately be going off. So, well, why don't we go ahead and get rolling? Like Julie said, we got some really cool things to share with you guys tonight. And I think a number of you guys will see yourselves right in our shoes tonight. You know, these kind of, especially the topics we want to talk to you guys about tonight, they're very special, especially to me, you know, because I feel like the ultimate way to know if you want to do something or not do something is look at the people that are doing it. And can you relate to them? You know, it's not necessarily just about results in life, which matter. And like someone like me is very results driven. But it's also important to see, like, okay, here's the people that are actually involved in doing it. And can I relate to them? Can I relate to the things they've been through? So we're going to get into those in just here a couple minutes. But at the same time, I want to kind of start this out the way we always do and just share with you who you guys are, right? Because as long as Julie and I have been doing these, we also know there's two types of people that are listening to us tonight. And by the way, both of these individuals, when I say both of these individuals, it seems like there's like literally two people, not two people, but two types of people. And I bet you fall into one of two categories here tonight. Some of you guys are our partners. Some of you guys we're already doing deals with. Some of you guys we're already interacting with. Some of you guys we're about, you know, you're our partners. We're on our way to doing deals with. Some of you we've already done deals with. And we are so glad you guys are here. And because that is who we are as an investment company, guys. We are a partner-driven real estate investment company. You know, usually when you look at someone like Julie and I ourselves, and you look at what we do, which is real estate deals, right? You many times, well, I'd say probably all the time, look at that company as a whole, kind of like, like investment company, investor, right? These are not really plural words, right? And so the way most investment companies grow, the way most investors company grow is they grow what I call internally, right? If you want to do more deals, you raise more money. If you want to find more deals, you do more marketing. You know, if you want to close more things, you negotiate more. You know, you want to expand your geography, you set up multiple offices. And that is exactly how we did it for many, many years. And we were, I would say, by any measure of imagination, successful at it. We did thousands of deals as
Still doing them.
And still doing them as an investment company, right? But somewhere along the line, we also made a decision that, like, you know, what if we want to invest beyond our borders? What if we want to invest beyond our reach? What if we want to invest beyond kind of where we could see it and feel it and touch it? What if we do something unusual? What if we say the United States is our playing field? And if there's an opportunity somewhere, we want to take advantage of it. And at that, what ultimately was a thought became our business model now. So now we are truly a real estate investment company that does deals, not as a result of just who we are and what we do, but we do deals a result of where our partners are and how we can help them. And again, some of you guys listening to us tonight, you fall into that first category, you're already our partner. And we are excited to have you here on board. Our goal with you guys every Tuesday is very simple. We want to motivate you more. We want to kind of kick you in the butt a little bit more. We want to get you to that next level. We want you to do more. We want you to get a bigger vision. You know, we want you to potentially reset. And again, we're glad you guys are here. If you guys are already our partners, you know, you're probably communicating with us way beyond just Tuesday nights. Some of you guys are,
or you better be.
Yeah. Well, and that was my next point. Some of you guys are talking to us almost on a daily basis, and that's an exciting thing. You guys are we're generating leads for you. You know, you're putting contracts out, and again, this is just another way for you to stay in touch with us and kind of get yourself to the next level. We're glad you're here. The other group of people that are listening to us tonight, you're not quite our partner. You pretty much understand what we do, at least conceptually. You might totally understand what we do, but for whatever reason, you haven't made that leap. You know, you haven't crossed the line yet. And you're just here to kind of get reinforced. You're here to learn more, understand more, get more comfortable with us, maybe get more comfortable with the model. And we're really glad you guys are here also. And so we're here to just pretty much let you guys know we are for real. Yes, we do exist. We do real estate deals. We do actually have an office. We don't operate out of a basement somewhere, right? We actually have employees. We've actually done tons and tons of real estate deals. And we would love the opportunity to partner with you wherever you are. Because in our partner-driven model, that's exactly what we do. We partner with people, we coach and mentor them, we generate leads for them right in their own market. Once we find the right properties, we provide 100% of the money to buy them and to fix them. So our partners don't spend any money on deals themselves. Our construction team helps them fix the properties. And then when we sell these deals and sell these properties, we split the profits down the middle, 50-50. Now, I will tell you, if you haven't done any deals yet, or if you're stuck somewhere, you know, maybe you've done a couple deals and you're trying to figure out how to get to that next level. In my opinion, it's the best opportunity out there, you know? And I know it kind of sounds weird. Well, the guy that's implementing it or the people that are implementing it are saying it's the best thing out there. Yeah, I know it might sound weird, but I'll be honest with you, it's the truth. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've had tremendous ups, had tremendous downs. I could tell you if 20 years ago, somebody offered to coach me and mentor me, help me generate leads, help me give me all the money when I found the right properties, no questions asked, as long as it met the criteria, brought in a construction outfit to the job to fix it, and then actually give me half the profit, I'd probably be where I am today, probably would have been about 10 times quicker. It's a no-brainer. If you're halfway serious about this business, this is the model to be a part of. So anytime tonight, just simply go to our website if you're not quite our partner yet at www.partnerdriven.com. There you can learn more about our partnering model, put your information in there. Ourselves or a member of our team will touch base with you. And before you know it, we could be on our way to doing our first deal together.
Yeah, and that's definitely the goal, you know, because I look at it from our side and you say, you know, is it the best thing or not? The reason why our partnering program is so invaluable or so cool is obviously we're going to teach you how to go find deals, but it's also set up to where, like, if you're successful, we're successful. So we want to coach you. We want to do deals with you because inevitably that's how we make most of our money anyway. Okay. From the selfish side. So you know, if you're not out there taking action, it doesn't really help us very much, but we're looking for action takers, people that are wanting to change their lives through real estate investing and, you know, be in a community of like-minded individuals just like you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, let's get to the topic at hand. And today's our topic is not really necessarily a specific topic. It is some stories that we want to share with you. Now, guys, there's a reason we want to share these stories, because in the end, all these stories have something in common. And there's something that brings all of this together. The stories we want to share with you tonight are sometimes, like Julie said, these are not the stories we necessarily go around telling a bunch of people about. Some of these stories are very personal to us. Some of these stories are very meaningful to us. But A, like I said, they all have something in common. But B, I could tell you, each one of these stories we share with you tonight, these stories pretty much propelled us to where they are today. Okay, so sit back, relax. It's story time, right?
Yeah.
and so I want to share a couple stories right off the bat. And again, remember, there's a reason we're talking to you guys about, and make sure you stay here all the way through our webinar tonight, because in the end, you're going to see how these stories that happen to us 100% affect what happens to you in your business. But the first story I want to share with you tonight actually happened to me many years ago. And I was sitting at a meeting. It was one of those big meetings, you know, there was like a couple thousand people there. And I remember I was in an audience, and I remember people were just going crazy. You know, you guys have been to these meetings, right? Where people are just like jumping up and down, high-fiving people, you know, tremendous excitement, music, lights are down, glitter going through the air. And it's what you call an electric atmosphere, right? The kind of atmosphere that could only be matched maybe at a nightclub, a country, you know, a dance club, and all this. Now, picture yourself in that environment and picture what you would be doing in that environment. And I could tell you right now, this is what I was doing in that environment. And my arms folded, had my attitude going, because I'm just not a rah-rah guy. I mean, I believe in the message that can be delivered there. You know, I believe in the things that can happen there. But I could tell you, I mean, I still remember to this day, I was just part of the event, but I wasn't the rah-rah part of the event. And, you know, anytime somebody would want to give me a high five, you know, all they got from me was a smirk. You know, anytime somebody wanted to like maybe shake my hand, it was just like, you know, I was listening to what they were saying. I wasn't necessarily hearing everything that they were saying, but I was definitely not participating in the atmosphere that was taking place around me. And guys, I promise you, I remember this. And I tell this story. This is actually one of the stories I do like to share, because it's has such a profound effect on me. Like if you were to ask me today, and this was like I don't even remember if it was a 2-day event, 3-day event, or a 4-day event. Can't even remember. It might have been a 1-day event. I can't remember the speakers. You know, I know what I was there for, as the big topic was, but I can't remember any details. You know, I remember somewhat the atmosphere, but I could tell you as clear as day, there was about 60 seconds in that whole event that I remember very, very clearly. And all of a sudden there was a speaker up there, and I can't remember what the heck his topic was. I do remember his name was Casey. He was from Canada. He had come in to the States to give this speech. And all of a sudden Casey, I remember I'm way back. Didn't understand the value of being up front back then yet. I mean, I'm somewhere in the back. I'm doing this. I'm just like looking at these nutty people jumping around me. And all of a sudden Casey like starts talking to me. You guys ever been there in these big surroundings where it seems like all of a sudden that like the seat parts, the crowd goes sideways, and you're like, boom. And all of a sudden, like, it's like Casey was talking to me, and he started describing me. And here's what he said. He said, and by the way, just to give you a little background of where I was back then, like in my business world, I was like down and out. Like I had little success, but I had more failures than success. I had a little money, but I had lost more money than the little money I had. So I've had a glimmer of things, but again, I was there because I wanted to get something out of it. I was hungry to like grab onto something or someone, and so all of a sudden Casey starts talking to me, right? And here's what he says, and Casey starts saying, "There's somebody in this audience who's not jumping up and down." Well, that was me. He said, "There's somebody in this audience that's not high-fiving everybody." And it's like, that was me. And the more he started describing the person in the audience, the more he was describing me. And I started, it was like there was this connection that was started to be made between Casey and I. Now, Casey, I had no idea who the heck I was, wasn't looking at me, but to me, Casey was talking straight to me. And I know you could picture yourself in environments like that, right? And remember, I was there because I needed to get something, right? I needed that another push, that another nudge to get to somewhere back then. I don't think it was maybe level 1 would have been great back then. And Casey said, "You're not jumping up and down, you're not high-fiving, you're not, the razzle dazzle, you're none of that. But there's one word that's inside you." And then Casey looked up at the audience and he said, "Done. Done. You're the person sitting in that audience, and to you right now, it's done. You're going to get it done. There's no more questions. You don't have to tell the whole world about it, but you have already made a decision that it's done." And it's like he said it to me. And at that point, it totally resonated with me. I was the guy. Because at that point, I made a decision, kind of like done deal. I'm going to get this done. No matter what I got to do, no matter what crap I got to go through, it was a done deal. And that 60-second dissertation by Casey that I'm sure he had forgotten a minute after saying it, that the 99% of people that were there, it went that like in one ear, out the other ear, like everything else for me that weekend, that all of a sudden, those 60 seconds at that point changed the trajectory of who I became. Because I was the guy who that night said, done deal. Okay? So that's my first story. Now, I know I told Julie we're going to rotate back and forth. I want to tell you a second story, though. Okay? Because it's tied into something like that. Okay? This was also early on in my career. It was early on in the business. I was in another event like that, a much smaller event. Can't remember, maybe it had 30, 40 people in there, maybe a little bit more. Actually, I think maybe it had 100, 200 people there. And again, I was still kind of in a very beginning stage of my career, the stage where you build everything off credit cards, right? Like right? Can you relate being in a business where you're building it off credit cards, right? That's where I was at. And I went to another meeting like that. A little down the road, and like throughout that whole weekend, I mean, I was trying to grasp for something. I was just I got to get something out of this thing. I got to get something out of it. And what happened is that weekend started moving forward and going forward. Started meeting some pretty cool people in the room. And I was like, man, that's a sharp dude, and that's a sharp dude, and that's another sharp dude. And what happened that weekend, the guy that was putting the seminar on, he said, like towards the end of the weekend, he's like, guys, we're going to do like a mastermind here. We're going to do a mastermind. And I know there's people here who's got a lot out of it. I could see a lot of synergy out in the audience. So we're going to take like, 15 of us. We're going to do a mastermind. We're connect every week. We'll maybe take some trips throughout the week, throughout the year. We'll pump each other up. And to me, because again, I was kind of down and out in my business, not too many things were working. And to me, because I understood the value of grasping on to like some motivational stuff and inspirational stuff and the right people, I understand how important it is to surround yourself with the right crowd. So to me, when he started saying that, I'm like, man, I'm going to be in this mastermind, man. I got to get around this guy and that guy and all these guys. I mean, I'm like, I can relate to these guys. I mean, I need to be in their circles. And so at the end of the seminar, the speaker's like, okay, we're going to, you just come up here and I'll sign you up. And, obviously there was some kind of a fee involved with it. And, of course, back then, how do I pay my fees? Through credit cards with money I didn't have, but that's okay. It's called investing. And so I remember is that, again, another clear as day. Okay, I remember the lines started being formed. People were signing up for this mastermind. I kind of gravitated towards like this side of the room. They were all towards that side of the room. And somehow I was the last person. And these people were signing up. Again, they were high-fiving the guy, and it looked, everything looked great. I was just kind of patiently waiting here because I was like, there's no question, I was the low guy in the totem pole back then, right? A lot of these guys were further, I'd say all of these guys were further on than me, had more credibility than me, had more money than me, had more deals than me, had more than me. So I'm like, kind of stood back in a corner. I was like, I'm going to let everybody go. I'll be the last one up. But man, this is exciting. Now I got something to look forward to. I'm going to be around the right group of people for the next year. Boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden, like there's 3 guys left to sign up. Then there's 2 guys left to sign up. Then there's the final guy signs up. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to start making my way over there. And then at that point, like my eyes from here met with the guy's eyes from there. Our eyes met, our eyes intersected. He evaluated me somehow. Obviously, he did something. I'm not even sure to this day exactly what happened there. He looked at me. I looked at him. Remember, he was my lifeline. At that moment, he was my lifeline. He was another thing that would have kept me going. He looked at me. I looked at him. Our eyes crossed. And he turned around and he walked out the door. And that was it. And that was it. And that turned out to be a pretty bad weekend for me. I remember I shared it with a couple of people, but let me tell you something. That weekend is another piece of the puzzle of why I'm here. Because that 5-second interaction with that guy kept me going into business, potentially even more than had I signed up for that mastermind to him. That actually became a focal point of what drove me. And to this day, I still think about that. To this day when I'm kind of, you still have these moments. To this day, I'm like, that is going to drive me. So that's my first tip.
That's an awesome story. Awesome. Well, actually, I've never told this story before. And I'll kind of tell you, kind of where I got to be where I'm one serious catalyst. And I know this is going to resonate with a lot of you. Okay. So hold on here for a second. So by the way, a little bit about me. I did not go to college. Okay. But one thing I've always been able to do is work harder than possibly someone next to me. Right. So when I was 22 years old, I started working for a lawn care company, not like cutting grass, but like fertilizer and weed control. Actually worked there for about 10 years and grew that company up to over 6,000 customers. Now, let me get to my point here. With this particular company, in my late 20s, I made about $80,000 a year. Now, for some of y'all in the United States, y'all might not think that's that much money, but for me living in North Georgia with no college degree, I really thought like I had made it. Do you know what I mean? And I literally put every moment of my life into someone else's business. I mean, to the point to where I'd get there at 5 a.m. and I wouldn't leave till 7 o'clock at night. Ran the entire company. I mean, loaded trucks, unloaded fertilizer, stocked shelves, rented a sales team, an office staff, a building. Not something normally that necessarily women are doing. Like I was the only female running the company besides the office staff. I put my heart and soul into this company to the point to where the owners who looking back now, I really appreciate, okay? Even after I tell you the story. They had like this terrible thing that happened, and they literally just left me with the company for like 4 months. I mean, something happened in their life where they just had to turn everything over. And I mean, I didn't even call them for 4 months because I knew what had went on. Well, at the very end of their trip, what happens whenever they come back, that last week, our entire program that ran that company went down. For those of y'all that understand scheduling and a company like that, a computer program to keep up with your schedules, because usually like in lawn care, you treat someone's lawn 7 times a year. You got to know what you did the last time. You've got to know what you're going to do the next time, who your last technician was, You've got to create efficient schedules. Well, computer program completely shut down. But one thing I didn't tell you is I was 3 weeks pregnant, okay? For me to keep this company running that I built over all of these years, that literally meant that I had to do this manually, day and night, okay? I'm not saying this is the reason that caused it, but give myself probably another 9 weeks later and I lost that baby, okay? I lost that baby because I didn't take time out for myself to take care of myself through going through that time. And as much as I loved, working there, I realized that I would need to give up everything I have to be able to get what I deserved. Okay. So when that happened, or even the week before, I already knew I was in trouble. And I went to the owners and I said, hey, listen, I need time off of my feet. I can only work 20 hours a week. The comment that came back to me after all of those years of dedication, it came back to me and it said this: well, Julie, we're going to have to redo your salary based off of the hours that you can work. Guys, this was like a blow to my heart. I mean, and in all honesty, that one particular moment in my life changed my life forever, because I said, I don't care how much money I make. I don't care what situation I am in. I'm changing my life. And let me tell you, that one decision changed my life forever. Okay. Was it hard? Y'all, I literally lost everything from that one decision because I had to. I went from living a decent life to living in a one-room shack behind my dad's mechanic shop, okay? But it took losing everything to get what I deserved. So my story to you is this, or my, takeaway from that is sometimes you've got to give up what's good right now to get what you deserve, because what you deserve is better than maybe what you have right now or the life that you're living. I don't know if that story helps you, but, for me, that impacted my life significantly. And actually, had I not went through those things, I wouldn't be where I am now. And it's just something that shaped me in my past.
It's a powerful story, guys. And again, guys, you'll see here in a little bit as we come to an end, there's something there's something, a very common theme that's going to emerge in these stories, guys. And that's why we're so passionate about what we're doing with you all today, and the stories we're talking about. But let me tell you my next story. And my next story is something like this. So one time I was sitting at a bar.
Yeah.
What? I don't know why you're laughing.
No, I'm not. I'm just.
Jelly's like, oh yeah, no kidding.
Sorry, I had to cut the air. My last story, I was like crying.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me tell you this story. So I was sitting at a bar with a buddy of mine, and my friend just starts. Wasn't even that much of a friend back then. It was kind of an acquaintance, and he starts talking to me about this big wave that was sweeping Atlanta back then. And the wave was very simple. It was condo conversions. Now, for those of you that don't know what condo conversions are, condo conversions is basically when you're buying an older apartment building and you're converting those apartments into condos, and then you're just selling off the condos, okay? So, and this really, there was a wave that swept through Atlanta of condo conversions. Matter of fact, they became so big, there were back then literally real estate brokerages that would literally open up strictly with realtors that would do nothing but sell these condo conversions. I mean, think about something that powerful that literally created a whole industry back then. And so condo conversions became the craze. Now, when my buddy back then was telling me about it, it was kind of in a somewhat little bit on the forefront of condo conversions. I kind of heard the word, but really didn't really understand what it was. And he was just telling me, he's like, man, there's an opportunity out here that exists. And, you know, you're buying this old building, you know, you're kind of emptying it out. You're getting, you're setting up an HOA association there. You know, you're deeding all these units separately, then you parcel them off, and, you know, you might get it for, you know, 5,000-10,000 a unit. You could sell it for 70,000-80,000 a unit. And again, I'm still kind of sort of going over my head. I wasn't really like, but it became pretty exciting to me. And then I'm like, hey, I was like, you got any of these like that, you know, that are going on? Would love to, you know. He's like, well, yeah, I'm actually going to be looking at a couple. And so a couple of days later, he and I met. I jumped in the car with him. By the way, the reason he was telling me about it is because he was involved in a couple of these condo conversions. So a couple of days later, I kind of bum a ride with him for a couple hours, and he's like, drove me to one of his projects that he was on, and you know, looked pretty cool. And then he's like, I'm looking at this building. I made an offer on this building. This building would be a good one to do it. And, you know, he and I just started driving around and all this. And then, you know, I started looking at these numbers, and he just started showing me these numbers of what's possible in these buildings. And I mean, you were literally like eightfolding your money on a per unit cost back then. Obviously, you have to put rehab into it and all this, but the numbers were like huge. And like I said, there was a whole industry that started to develop around these condo conversions in Atlanta market. And then I'm like, somewhere along the line, maybe our second or third meeting, I was like, well, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be interesting for me to get into these. Now, remember, like a week or two before, I didn't really even know what the heck a condo conversion was. Now I'm like, well, it'd be cool for me to get into, maybe do one of these. And I'm like, he's like, well, go find a building. I'll do it with you, right? And I'm thinking, really? Like, if I find one of these, and, you know, I started kind of getting an idea of what they look like, these buildings look like, the age you want them to be at, like the areas you want them to be sitting in, and all this. And so I'm like, this sounds pretty cool. So what started happening over the next number of weeks, the next couple of months, I started putting feelers out there, right? And started getting some things back from some agents, from some people I knew, from some bird dogs. And one day there was just a lead that came in. And I remember going to the building, and I'm thinking, this is exactly the kind of building they're looking for. It was one of those 19, you know, in the inner city 20s or 30s buildings. It had like, brick, red brick. It had, I think, 9 or 10 units in it. And it was just a gorgeous old apartment building. And I was like, this is the perfect condo conversion. And so I remember I got my buddy back in the car. We looked at it. He's like, this is a perfect condo conversion building. And so over a period of time, I identified the owners, negotiated the deal. And before you know it, I was doing a condo conversion. I mean, I was actually able to bring another partner to the table, Roger Watson, and Roger became our contractor in the job. I brought a couple, well, at least, a couple money people into this partnership. My friend kind of spearheaded the whole thing. I remember I found Volker. I still remember Volker's name just because it's such a manly man.
I want a name like Volker.
And Volker was like, back then, he was the top realtor in Georgia for condo conversions. And so I got Volker to agree to sell this. In the middle of the whole project, actually what happened is we blew out the basement. I mean, literally, they blew out the basement, went from an unlivable basement and they blew like 8 feet into the ground, literally like 8 feet into the ground, dug into it, and we created 3 other units in there. And they were so cool and they were so deep down that we ended up being in a front cover of one of the magazines. And so what happened, I went from a meeting at a bar, having a beer, 2 months down the road, and then ultimately ended up, you know, getting into it myself, not needing partners, and condo conversions, right? A whole strategy in my world. And I rode that condo conversion wave out, and Volker became our realtor, the top realtor in Georgia for there, became our realtor all the way through. And next thing you know, I was a condo conversion guy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I got one more story from you. I know we're running a little bit out of time here. So, so this story goes back, man, 5 or 6 years ago. Okay. So 5 years ago, I don't know if you remember, we started an office in Jacksonville, Florida. Okay.
Yep.
It's hilarious, but we started with another partner, and he's like, I got a team for you. You'll remember this. And we have a team for you that's here, that's going to implement. They're going to be the boots on the ground. We just need you to help us with marketing and to help manage the business. We go to Ponte Vedra Beach. It was a boat club, I think. And we walk in. They're sitting at this table. Guys, you got to imagine.
I know what you're talking about.
You got to imagine Peter and I walking in. We're literally starting an entire business in Northeast Florida. We walk in, and sitting at this table is 2 young boys. And I say boys because they were like 19, 20 years old. I guess you're not a boy. They're young men, right? I look at this table, and I literally almost walked back out the door. Like literally, like, did I really just travel to Northeast Florida to build a team with these individuals? Okay, let me fast forward to now. Right now, even though we do not have a business together, one of those gentlemen, but his name is Gonzalo Corzo, by the way, who did a little over 500 deals last year at the age of 22 or 23, right? The point is that at that point, I had this idea of what I thought someone that's successful or could be successful was. Heck, I didn't even believe I could, right? But I walked into that room so unassuming, just to come out in the end after years of training and doing deals together. And it's okay to have competition, guys. This other, you know, I think he also coaches and mentors, you know, people in that area, but don't ever assume anything about somebody else. The person, and the other point that I want you to make is that you may think that about yourself. You may not visualize yourself as that I can do it, or that I'm worth it, or maybe other people might think that about you. Listen, let me tell you what they did. They spent every moment of their life at that period getting better at this business. They spent every moment honing in on their skills. And I could tell you, they truly are. Those young boys from that lunch meeting that me and him almost walked out on, you know, are now uberly successful. But, you know, just like the guy that like looked at you and walked out of the room, or looked at, you know, all of these same stories, you know, for me resonate in one way, is that you can't pinpoint look at somebody and say whether or not they're going to be successful. What truly makes somebody successful is kind of what's in here. I know that's a little cliche, but what's in somebody's heart is what makes them that way. So, you know, I know all these stories kind of have one thing in common, don't they?
They do. Let me just finish one more story, and then we'll kind of tie it all in together, and I'll make it quick. Another meeting I had a while back, and this guy was just telling me, he's like, ever thought about buying some land, subdividing it, and selling it off into parcels, you know, to developers, builders, whoever? And I'm like, I never thought about that. And so a couple more meetings, a couple more understanding how that works. Next thing I know, I go out and I'm like, gosh, you got to rezone. I don't want to rezone myself, because if you guys have ever done anything to do with rezoning, it's like a pain in the butt. You're at the mercy of associations, governments, and all this. So back then I went out and I hired an ex-county commissioner from one of the counties here in Atlanta to represent me in these zonings. Next thing you know, I started finding some pieces of land, got my heavyweight attorney, who was a commissioner, and guess who's connected? They're commissioners, right? So we started having a fairly easy time subdividing these pieces and started selling them off. And I mean, I literally had about a couple year run back then of just buying land, subdividing it, having the right attorney in line, getting the right zoning going, selling it off, and they were flying off like hotcakes. But before that meeting, never even understood that whole concept. And guys, here's the bottom line. And here's why we wanted to share these stories with you tonight. These stories had one thing in common, whether they're good events that happened or bad events that happened. One, all of these events propelled Julie to where we are today. There's no question. Had Julie not had that face-to-face with her owners and her pest control or in her lawn care company, she might not be in real estate. Had I not had a guy get up on stage and tell me done deal, I might have walked out of that meeting that weekend and gotten out of the business. Had I not met the guy at the bar, my friend at the bar that night, and had a couple of drinks with him and talked about the condo conversion business, I might have missed out on 2 years worth of investing. Had Julie and I not gone down to Jacksonville and met the kids, we might have never had a Jacksonville really became almost an empire of what we did there, became the largest investors in Jacksonville, Florida. Their lives might have been different. The one thing all these things have in common is none of them were done over a phone. None of them were done through what we're doing tonight, a webinar. None of that, nothing that we talked about happened through emails. The one thing they all have in common is they all happen at a live meeting. They all happen face to face. The meetings, the events, the ups, the downs, all of them happen in a face-to-face interaction. And each one of them is very keenly responsible for getting Julie and I to where we are today as successful real estate investors. So our point tonight is very simple, guys. We feel very strongly that to get to the next level, whatever that next level is for you, the next level for you might be the first deal, it might be the 10th deal, it might be the 100th deal. But really what ties everything together in life is the face-to-face interaction. There's a reason that sometimes Julie and I are together. It's because we're meeting face-to-face 3 hours beforehand. We could have just talked for 3 hours on the phone. Yeah, sometimes we have to because we're not in the same, environment. But we know that if she and I can get together face-to-face, something magical happens. Something happens when you're somebody face-to-face in the same room, in the same environment, with the same like kind of people. Something you can't describe, but something that happens. This is why, to this day, people still do things face-to-face. And I could tell you, if you look at some of the most important things that happen in your lives, they happen in that live environment, right? It might have been you watching one of your kids score that amazing goal that to this day you play back 100 times over and over, right? Might have been a birth of a child, It might have been a promotion that you didn't expect to get that all of a sudden your boss walked in and gotten. It might have been a letter you see from a college that says, hey, you're admitted. But it happened in a live environment. And guys, this is why we are so passionate about the live environments that we do here a couple times a year. We know that those live events are probably responsible for more of deals, relationships, profits, anything else that we do. How do we know that? Because we have history of doing them. We've seen what happens at these live events. And guys, this is why we're so passionate about our next one that's coming up here on January 11th and 12th, right here in Atlanta, Georgia, right down the road from where we're sitting today. That live event is going to be magical. And I'm going to tell you right now, we feel extremely passionate about you being there. We know for us, it's going to get us to the next level. Mm-hmm. We know that something's going to happen in our business that we're not even expecting today. We know that we're going to build some kind of relationships in that event, that we're going to be somewhere else a year from now as a result of this live event coming up than where we are today. And that's from our end. And we're already doing pretty good. So from your end, it's absolutely the best thing you could possibly do for yourself is invest a little money, a little time, and a little effort, and be with us on January 11th and 12th at our next live event. Now, we could sit here and tell you about all the amazing things that are going to happen there. And we've already done that. You're going to learn, you're going to understand, you're going to see how you could use our money to do deals right where you live. You're going to see how we can invest in your market and generate leads for you. Mm-hmm. You're going to do some amazing, you're going to hear Julie talk about how she talks to sellers, like how she gets a hold of sellers and gets in the door. You're going to hear me, how I negotiate deals on an average 30% on every deal. You know, you're going to hear our closers talk about how to close deals and how they can close deals for you in your marketplace. That's all well and good, but I'm just going to say this, something magical for you is going to happen at that live event. And if you're at the point where everything is cooking great, you're on top of things, you're just like making too much money, you got too much time on your hand, like you're the superhero of everyone in your family, and you're just like, you can't even go any higher in life. I get it. You might need nothing magical to happen. But if you're at the point where you're like, I need something to happen. If you're at the point where you're like, man, I got to figure this thing out. I'm just like frustrated, hitting my head against the wall. You know, if you're at the point where you're like, people around you are like saying, why are you still doing, why wouldn't you just give up? Why don't you just do what everybody else does? Like, you know, basically you have a regular job, do regular things, and just be content. You know, if you're at the point where you're like, man, there's got to be something more than that, then I could tell you the most important thing you could do right now is register for our next live event, because that live event will propel you no matter where you are. And you, by the way, you may be a partner of ours already, but you just need to go through a recharge. You might need to go a little bit, you need to get a kick in the butt, right? You might not quite be our partner, but you're just trying to figure out, well, what's the downside of using somebody's money, somebody's lead, somebody's resources? There's got to be some catch there. Well, show up at that event and something magical will happen to you to show you there is no catch in what we do, right?
And they're going to learn so much, because it's not a weekend of, you go to a lot of these things and you're pitched and you're pitched and you're pitched and you're pitched. The intention for this weekend, we call it, hey, I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay with everybody? If you go to www.partnerdrivenlive.com, it's going to actually take you to this website here. You can watch this little video, get the tickets. It's going to tell you all about it. But we are here for you for that weekend to really pull the curtains back and show you everything. And sometimes it's just about being brilliant at the basics, right? I mean, what if you meet like your next best friend or your next business partner there? I mean, I cannot even express to you enough how important it is to get around like-minded people. Because people may say, oh man, you're a little bit crazy for doing this. You're a little bit crazy for going into business yourself. You're a little bit crazy for going into real estate. Hey, listen, I done heard it. And sometimes the people that are the most important to you around you are not the people that are going to lift you up, right? So how do you become lifted up? How do you become to a place to where, you know, you feel a little bit more comfortable about what you're doing? Get around more people like you, people that think differently. When you get around these people that think differently, it's going to put you on this whole different playing field. And you're going to realize things that you never did before. And I promise you that if you come to this event, you will have that feeling. All you got to do is go to www.partnerdrivenlive.com to register for our event. right here, January 19th and 20th, and 11th to 12th. I don't even.
Okay.
That was last year's date start. And we would love to have you there because space is filling up fast. And once it's filled up, guys, we're just not going to be able to accept anybody in because we put so much planning and effort into it. But we want you to be there. Quit making excuses in life. Get off your honey, make it happen. And that's all I'm really going to say about that.
No question about it. There is a $97 charge to get in. You know, we basically ask everybody to pitch in a couple bucks to pick up the expenses. And we do it simple. At the end of the weekend, take everything we've given you, all the value, all the tools, all the resources. And if you don't love it, absolutely, if we don't surpass your expectations, let's see anybody in there from our team and we'll give you your $97 back.
And Marty said he made it happen.
Well, there you go, guys. It's a matter of making a commitment. Something magical will happen to you that weekend. If you want something magical to happen, you need to be there. And I'll tell you something else. If at this point right now you're like, yeah, I got to be there, make the decision tonight. Don't put it off. Don't sleep on it. Don't meditate about it. Make a call, make the move, make the commitment. You're absolutely going to love it. So it's www.partnerdrivenlive.com. Register. We hope to see you guys all in a couple of short weeks. We're going to be there. Our team's going to be there. People that are doing everything. Our other partners are going to be there. Now make sure that you're there also. All right, guys. That's all we got for you tonight. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week.
Bye.